What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to YGOPD, your Yu-Gi-Oh! Professional Development, and we're back, finally. I know it's been a while. My wife and I moved. We had the chance to upgrade to a house. There's still a lot of things to be done, waiting on some, shelving and things from Amazon, taking care of some home repairs, that kind of stuff, but we close out of our other place in a couple of days, but I wanted to go ahead and come back with something strong that is different than just Fire King deck or Voiceless deck that I've really been enjoying and does quite a bit to the meta. Actually, I had the chance to do undefeated at my last OTS store tournament last week against Fire King Snake Eye, Pure Snake Eye, and Voiceless, and then splitting in the finals with Snake Eye Rescue Ace just because it's a smaller shop that closes a little early on weeknights. But it performed really well, went undefeated, was really cool. I really like this deck quite a lot. Came on, featured it on his channel, I know. I took inspiration from that and wanted to run with it. I know a lot of you are really passionate about the cash variant, but I would argue that this feels better. You don't have to make any concessions for taking out Tenyis or Worms just to play cash names. It's a little bit cheaper when you compare just the Horus Core to the whole sword or the whole Horus Core versus Kashtira, and it just feels really solid, and you get the benefits of both worlds, and it's just really good. So yeah, without further ado, I'll go ahead and showcase the deck. So there's only been one small change between the main and side that I'll call out when we get there, just to do with hand traps, but otherwise the list is still the exact same. But 40 card list, I really love my 40 card lists, and I think it does a really good blend of just everything that the deck needs to be successful. So starting off, 3 Ecclesia, main starter, not much needs to be said about that. Sorry for the light and the autofocus. I know it's not too great. I got to get a few more lights and get things set up here to really make it work. 3 Moye. Again, your best starter to pair with any Swordsoul card. Just amazing to have like a +2 in and of itself. 3 Longwan, really great card there. And then 1 Taya. There's a couple concessions in here to keep it 40. Also putting in the Horus cards and leaving efficient enough room for non-engine, similar to the cash variant. I would really like 2 Taya, but I really don't want to go over 40. But there's a couple cards in here you can maybe cut or tag out if you want, or just bring up the deck to like 41 if you really want to squeeze in that second Taya. It's been very rare that I've had to choose between normal summons usually, because the instance where you don't want to see this is if you're going first and you already have Moye, and it's just like not great, but at least then it's still a worm to reveal and it's follow-up. So 1 Taya is still fine. You can definitely get away with it. And then 3 Emergence. Again, not much needs to be said there, as well as the 1 Blackout. Pretty straightforward Swordsoul package here. Not much really needs to be said. I think the Taya is the only thing that sticks out. And then for the Tenyis, it's about, I think, as much as you can squeeze into a 40-card deck while having a secondary engine. And the thing I really like is you're still getting the full benefit of this compared to like Kashtira Swordsoul, when you can only play maybe a couple of Vishuddha and an Abyss Dragon Swordsoul, and you were always sometimes running out of Worms to reveal, or you'd only see not enough of one engine or the other to play. This, you just play full Swordsoul, and then Horus is such a big boost or a big punish to your opponent. So 2 Ashuna, 2 Vishuddha, 2 Adhara, and 1 Shatana. Pretty much the standard Tenyi package, except for maybe 3 Ashina. I know some people do 3, 2, 2, and 1. Some people do 3, 3, all 3s, but I think this is a very respectable amount, and still is really, really good in the deck, and gives you the benefit of using this engine, which you couldn't in the cash variant. So it's I think just better is you're having a secondary engine plus being able to utilize Swordsoul to its fullest extent. And then the last 2 cards to kind of pair with the Tenyi engine, I guess, are 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle. The one honorable mention I'll say here is I was running 1 Auspice, Shunjun, the chicken, in place of 1 Circle. I really do like that just because sometimes if you count Emergence, then you have 5 ways to get to a dodge, which is really good, but this card is just a little bit better here because I think prioritizing the level 8 synchros to get the actual search to keep playing is important, and this is also just a bit of a better pitch with a card like Mseti, so as well as King Sark. So you can change it, but I'm a big fan of Shunjun. If I could play it, I would, but I think for now 2 is just a little bit better, but I still love that card quite a bit. And then the Horus package, it's not anything too big. It's about what you would expect for most decks that splash a Horus package. It's 2 Mseti, 1 Happy, and double Sark. That's really all you need. You could play any other name. For me, Happy is still just the best one, because in awkward hands, you don't always have to use these to make things. Sometimes like a Synchro, a Hand Trap, and 2 Horus names is just enough. And that's kind of what I've been leaning on. You could always make Photon Lord if you have it. You don't have to have it in this build. I really don't find myself using it that much. In reality, I almost find myself making Zombie Vampire a lot, because if they hand trap you twice and you need to keep extending, you're going to lose to Nib if they have that as the third hand trap anyway. So using Zombie Vampire to keep digging to either hit an Ecclesia as a tuner is important, hitting a Taya and dumping something that Taya can then banish, whatever it is. But being able to keep playing is what matters. And Happy is my favorite name as opposed to some of the other ones, because in a simplified game state where you have this plus synchros, plus hand traps, plus back row, and they break a lot of that, they're not getting through all of it. And Happy to add back like Emergence Moye to just do full combo again is really, really good. Or add back Mseti or recycle the King Sark if they pop it, whatever. Happy is just insane just to be a +2 for no reason. So yeah, that's the Horus package there. And then the rest of the deck is non-engine. There's a respectable amount here. We have 11 of them. Starting with the hand traps, 3 Ash. Before you go crazy in the comments, I think Ash is fine right now. I think a lot of people will agree with that, even pro players. You saw from the UDS and other things that the trade-off for being able to resolve Ash at a critical point compared to them taking it with Hita is just not justifiable enough to cut it. Because if they take it with Hita, what are they going to do? Make a Princess and climb into Amberwell? Big deal. Who cares? You still ashed and stopped their combo from getting all the other interrupts. I think Ash is still really good. Timing an Ash on a Snake Eye Ash to summon from deck, an Oak, a Diviner, anything like that, pre-prep. There's so many cards where right now, if you just resolve an Ash at the right time with a board or with a secondary hand trap, it just ends their turn. And I think it's good enough right now that you should still be playing it and ignore the fear of Hita. The other card I'm going to showcase here that I've been testing that I really like a lot. This came in over Droll. At the event, I was playing Droll, and Droll was good, but it moved to the side. But I actually like this in main. If I could, I would like to I'd really want to main this and Droll. Ghost Ogre is really insane right now. Shout out to my friend Sean. He was the guy who was the other undefeated at the OTS with Snake Eye Rescue Ace. Really pilled me on this card. And essentially, it just deals with a lot of stuff that is just in the format that maybe Droll can't, because a lot of decks, you Droll them, they still make a half board really well through that hand trap without really dealing with anything. But I think Ghost Ogre, again, is one of those similar to Ash, where it's a really well-timed hand trap. You can just end a turn or make their board significantly worse. You save this for Princess, and then they have, what, Flamberge IP? After all that, big deal. Same thing with Voiceless. You hit the trap. Or the Diviner, so then they dump Trias, and then they can't tribute Diviner and start to play. There's so many things where this comes in clutch. Hitting the trap for Voiceless, I think I might have mentioned that. And even if they do make Appaloosa, pairing this with something else going second is a way to help out that, or this being a pseudo board breaker is just really nice. So I really do like Ogre right now. There's a lot more applications than what I thought about, and the more I play it, the more I've kind of fallen in love with it too. Even Branded or Chimera as kind of a rogue deck that's honestly might be a meta contender right now, with it being kind of a counter pick to both Snake Eye and Voiceless. Hitting stuff like Baphomet off the board before they search Chimera Fusion is also really, really important. So 3 Ghost Ogre, and then the last hand trap is triple Imperm. So we do have room for 9 in here, which I think is, again, a pretty respectable amount. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Talents. I feel like anytime you're playing Horus anything, Talents is just an insane card to play. This deck forces and is very interactive, so I would much rather have Talents over Desires. And in this build, right, if you banish like the 1 Happy, it feels really bad. If you banish double Sark, it feels bad. If you banish the 1 Taya, it feels bad. So Talents is just a little bit better. If you want to play Thrust, you definitely can. I think about that card all the time with this deck, because setting Blackout is just a godsend for this deck. But yeah, it's just really, really good. That's the deck. Clean 40 cards. Plays really well. I'll showcase the extra deck, and if you're kind of wondering how I play it, is I just do full Swordsoul combo, and then if they hand trap me enough, I just pivot into the Horus stuff. I don't try to shotgun and make Photon Lord. I really just save it if I can, which I think is really nice compared to the cash variant where you were forced to like do a Unicorn, do a search, or Fenrir do a search, and then try to Swordsoul, hope they don't have Nib, and do that stuff after, whereas Horus just has so much more diversity to just do it whenever you want, which is really good. So For the extra deck, we'll start off with the 10s. One Baron, one Chenging, one Sovereign. I think this is really standard. If I could pick another card to add that I wish I had space for, I'll showcase it on screen. It would be the Ice Jade level 10. I really do like that card right now. I think it's actually really underrated. I just wish I had room for it. But you could maybe like squeeze in like an Apple Dragon or Assault Synchrons or the Crimson Gaia engine or something else into this deck and start going over 40 to play like a way to get like a second 10 on your board for comboing. But for now, these are standard and they're great. 2 Chi 2 Baxia. I think that's all pretty standard. 2 Baxia does come up. There are still hands where you want to make Baxia dump a Moye from Taya and then bring Moye back and search and draw and all that kind of stuff. I don't think there's any reason not to play this at this ratio. Also with Buzz King popping up every now and then, it's kind of good on cards that you were like already normally running 2 of. Now it kind of solidifies. You really should if you have the space. And then the last 8 is 1 Draco Berserker. Dragite's not in here. I like Dragite. I would like to play it, but this is the one that you can make when you're worm locked under a Shuna and just has a lot of unique value. Again, being another piece of non-targeting removal for Voiceless is very important. The battle phase effect is also very important and just clears a lot of stuff, forces a lot of stuff out. So I really do like this card quite a bit. And then the last Synchro is just 1 Yazi. Of course, you have to run it. The level 7, it is insane and is a really good piece that comes up, I would say, once every few matches that you just really should have. And then for the Exceeds, 1 Typhon, 1 Photon Lord, and 1 Zombie Vampire. Out of all of these, I would say I make Zombie Vampire the most, and then maybe a tie between these two, ironically, since you can't even go into this with Horus. But I like all of these. They all have come up utility-wise. It's really, really good. There are hands where if your hand is just that gas where you can just combo into infinity that you just can make this to help insulate from Nib, but most of the time I just save Horus as much as I can. I think that's a lot of the time what wins this game is you Sword Soul, they burn like 2-3 hand traps, and then you just go Mseti effect and they're like, oh well, I don't have anything left, so that's cool. But yeah, they're all really, really good. But again, if you're on a budget, right? You could cut Typhon to save a few bucks. You definitely don't need this card for links. You don't need SP, but it's nice enough that it comes up. 2 Monk. A card I've actually thought about in place of SP is Land for Linkus, a way to use Horus bodies to still get a normal monster on board and then use the 10Es to full combo, but still use the Horus to threaten stuff and then be able to combo in main phase 2 is actually really nice when you think about it. I've done some testing where like you have Mseti plus a couple 10Es, use the Horus stuff to bait all their hand traps, bait out their board, push through it, whatever. You make Land for Linkus, and then you can just do 10E stuff after, which is actually really cool. So I'm really thinking about going that direction. So if you need a generic replacement for SP, it would probably just be that. And it's also a link that you can both use Monk to get away with too. Like it just takes 2 monsters, whereas SP needs effect monsters. I can't tell you how many times I get frustrated to have a Monk and just want to make this, and I can't. So that's another reason. You could also just play Shaman or Draco Berserker. I think that's the one. Draco Masters of the 10E, right? The Link 2 and 3. You could do those as well. But yeah, that's what I've been enjoying right now. This deck is just really fun to play, and I think also just adds a lot of layers with the Horus. So for the side deck, again, preference this to your local meta, but I'm going to at least showcase what is prevalent for me. So starting off with the side deck, 3 Droll. This is pretty straightforward. Droll, I still think, needs to be somewhere in the format, at least for now, for maybe another couple of weeks to see how things shake out. If Voiceless transitions and takes over Snake Eye, obviously this will start coming back in the main more, but Droll is still just a really good side card nonetheless. Kurikara, yeah, I know it's money, but for me, this was a really solid investment that I've had for a while and just is a really good card in this format. I know a lot of people think it's underwhelming, but especially for the regional level and below, case tournaments, all that kind of thing, there are a lot of Snake Eye players that will like activate an Apo or Flamebirds link away with IP and then summon their SP, use the banish effect on summon, then bring back Ash, use its effect, Oak, use its effect, Poplar, use its effect. And there's actually been games where I just Kurikara for 4 and then just attack for game. Like, people do not respect this card right now, and that's kind of why I like it a lot. It's a card that lets you play under the Calamity lock, technically, because it's an inherent summon and not an effect. So there's just a lot of room you have to play with this card. I really do like it. And then 2 summon limit, and I guess I'll put this here as well. 1 D barrier. Again, Voiceless is a deck that's been coming back a lot in my local area. So instead of 3 summon limit, I wanted 2 summon limit and 1 D barrier as a way for a thrust target. So obviously we do play thrust. Again, you don't have to. You could just play other side cards. I don't think this is needed. Again, like you could just bump up the cards that you're going to see here for thrust targets. You could just play multiple evenly, play multiple lightning storm, play multiple duster, and you'll be fine. Ironically, throughout the events I've played this at, I never see thrust. I just, for some reason, am hard drawing 1-ups, which is like great. I won't complain about it, but I would rather see thrust because that's the side point. But that's the whole point, right? Is you do not need, you don't need thrust. You could just play the targets that you need. So that's the main, that's the extra, and that is the side. That is Swordsoul Horus. I hope you guys liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, we'll get some of the lighting fixed, some more cool stuff hanging up around here. But with all that said, I'll see you all in the next one. Later.